wrapped in special paper. When the Christmas tree toppled over, jingling all the way, tinsel a-rustling, baubles a-falling, it took with it to the ground one end of the dining table. The table had been unfolded from its normal configuration to its extended configuration in order to accommodate the additional Christmas crockery and cutlery and candlestick holders and crackers. These objects were then thrown as though from a trebuchet across the room and crashed through the glass doors of the living room cabinet, causing the shelves inside to collapse down on one another like a folding staircase and breaking the ornaments inside. This pile of shards then tipping to the floor, the carefully curated and ordered collection of classic Kilmarnock FC VHS tapes. "That was like Mousetrap," said Mum quietly and with tears trembling on her bottom lids after a moment's stunned silence. No, it's not like Mousetrap," said Dad quickly and insistently. "It's not, it's..." He stopped before saying anything else. He knew what he wanted to say, but he heard his own dad's voice in his head saying it, so he did not. He wanted to turn to his son and say, "Pure ingratitude." Kelly looked up at his mum and dad. Both, at the same time, he could do this because he had been born with an astigmatism, which meant that one eye was shaped like a ball and one was shaped like an egg. The people in his class insisted on calling it a skelly eye, regardless of how many times he explained the clinical term. "It's called a Rube Goldberg machine," said Kelly, still clasping the angel for the top of the tree in his little hands, and offering something that he thought would distract everyone from feeling upset. He was also quite satisfied at himself for remembering the name. "No, it's not," said his dad, putting his palms in his forehead and staring at his scattered VHS tapes. "It is, Dad. I read it in the encyclopedia at school," said Kelly, mildly protesting, but with a note of doubt in his voice. "Well, then the encyclopedia's wrong," said Dad. Mum, who Kelly could normally appeal to when Dad was being unreasonable, sat down the bundle of fairy lights she was untangling. She didn't say anything. Instead, she fetched a cardboard box, sank down to her knees with a long, exasperated sigh, and started to pick up the pieces of glass and the shards of porcelain that used to be her collection of Charles and Diana commemorative plates. At school the next day, the teacher told the class that they could sit wherever they wanted on account of it being the last day. Kelly elected to sit at his normal seat while everyone at his table moved to sit with their friends. It didn't bother him though, sitting alone. It was just like playtime or lunch, except in the classroom and for a whole day. Instead, he focused on his mission. He surreptitiously slid open his tote tray to triple check that he had what he needed. He had taken the scissors from the resource table during the previous day's Christmas card making activity. Instead of returning them as he should, he had put them inside his numbers book and then put his glasses on top to create an extra level of security. Kelly knew that if the teacher had opened his tray, then she would immediately see his glasses and realise that they were not, in actual fact, lost. She would pick them up and scold him for not wearing them. Everyone would look at them. One lens clear glass, one lens encased in black tape. And they would snigger and call him a pirate. But it would be worth it. The scissors would be undiscovered. Operation Fact Finder was not a success. Kelly had diligently waited for the teacher to leave the class to check on the people working in the open area. He had then removed the scissors from his numbers book and quickly moved to Rendezvous in Library Corner, where he had already dog-eared the relevant page of the Big Brain Encyclopedia. But the route took him across unfamiliar territory, and he hadn't seen the tripwire that went from the wall to the phone on the teacher's desk. He had fallen over it, and the phone, pulled across the desk like a fish on a fishing line, cleared half the contents onto the floor, including paperwork, the pencil pyramid, and the poor people's pennies jar. The teacher had sent him to the headmistress. He had sat in her office for the rest of the afternoon while she attended to business around the school. He flicked little rolled up balls of paper from her desk into a bin all the way across the room, never missing, wondering how he was going to accurately explain this one to his mum and dad. His corrective glasses sat on the headmistress's desk in front of him. "Kelly, come here so I can show you something," said Dad on Christmas Eve. He led his son into the living room and presented him with the Santa Catcher security system. Dad had sat his video camera on top of the taped up doors of the cabinet. It was facing the Christmas tree. "Wouldn't that be fun," he asked, "to see Santa delivering presents? Maybe he'll even leave a wee message." Kelly was sceptical but played along. Dad was being unreasonable again. Although no expert in physics, Kelly knew that Santa travelled at least the speed of light, given the number of deliveries divided by the available hours. It was very unlikely that he would be caught on camera, never mind have the luxury of stopping to leave a message. It was a calculation he was still dreaming about in bed an hour later. Dad checked that Kelly was sleeping before changing into his Santa costume. He tiptoed into the living room, swung off his sack of presents, and was so surprised when he noticed that he was being filmed. "Well, hello there," said Santa in his classic gruff, vaguely English accented voice. "Hello there, young Kelly. Oh my God, you are a lucky man this year. You were on my naughty list. I hear that you have been misbehaving in school and at home. You've been causing your poor mum and dad all sorts of problems with your bad behaviour. You must do as you're told from now on, Kelly. When your parents or teachers tell you to do something, then it's for your own good. Now, think carefully about what I am saying to you, or you won't see me next year, or ever again." Santa then placed the presents under the tree and crept out of the living room, before coming back in and switching off the camera. Kelly sprung out of bed on Christmas morning. He obediently chapped his parents' bedroom door and waited to be taken downstairs to see what Santa had brought. He thought about the day ahead, a day in which he could play with his new toys, not have to worry about going out into the blurry world, a day where you weren't allowed to get into trouble. Wait, insisted Dad as they rushed downstairs. "Let's see if Santa's left a wee message," he said, as he put a tape into the machine and turned on the television. On the screen, Kelly watched as Santa tiptoed into the living room, swing off his sack of presents, and be suddenly surprised by the Santa Catcher security system. "Well, hello there," said Santa. "Hello there, young Kelly. My God, you're a lucky man this year. In addition to your ordinary presents, I have a few special ones too." Mum and Dad looked at one another. They looked from the screen and back to one another. Kelly looked at them both. "I hear," continued Santa, "that you have been having some trouble in school recently. I am so sorry to hear that, young man, but I want to tell you that everything is going to be okay. Isn't it, Mum and Dad?" Mum and Dad's eyes were fixed to the screen now. They looked as though they were standing up while sitting down, and their mouths were open for soup. "Yes, Santa," they said together. "See," said Santa to Kelly, "Mum and Dad love you very much, and they know that they are going to try really hard to help you this year, just like you're going to help them. Anyway, look at me blabbering on. I better get on with these deliveries. I'll just leave these special presents right here." On the screen, Santa vanished in a flash of motion, which Kelly estimated to be no longer than 2 frames of film. And then he was gone. The tape ended. When Mum and Dad eventually calmed down and the colour had returned to their faces, they decided that it would be okay to open the special presents. Kelly tore off the special wrapping paper and was ecstatic to discover his very own copy of the Big Brain Encyclopedia. It would not take the omniscience of Santa to tell which entry he immediately showed to his parents. Kelly's dad opened his own special present. Below the special wrapping paper there was a white box with green lettering printed on it. On one side there was a clear plastic window that displayed the contents, a row of tiny, delicate-looking footballers in blue and white jerseys who are all attached to little semi-circular bases. "Don't they wobble about?" asked Kelly, unsure of why any responsible toy company would produce such a fragile-looking set of figurines and then attach them to such an unstable platform. But his dad didn't answer. His dad was elsewhere. Inside his head it was Christmas morning, 1962. He had only asked for one thing that Christmas, the 1962 League Cup finalist Kilmarnock team. But he'd gotten Mousetrap instead. When he had seemed disappointed, he had been told that it was "Let's play," Dad announced, before explaining to Kelly the game and the rules. "So it's just accurate flicking?" asked Kelly finally. "Oh, I think you'll find it's harder than you think," replied Dad with affected outrage. "We'll see," smiled Kelly as he leaned over the table, with one eye on the ball and the other on the top corner of the net.